a volume toggle button to click. If you can't hear me rambling away. So on the previous recordings and also going live like this, we had the speakers they were able just to come on from the invite. So hopefully that'll work.
Okay, 1 second. I just have to unclick. Could you see
I hear
me?
you. I hear you. I hear you. I see you.
Is everyone here?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. So yeah, this morning I tried to share a previous talk from another speaker, but I couldn't have it on the platform itself. It had to be a YouTube link. So it was playing in the background as a shared screen, but then everything went messed up. So I had to power shut down everything. We had like 7 people on there. They didn't come back, unfortunately. So I'll have to figure things out. Anyways, we're here.
Okay.
We're on. We're live. We're good.
Great. Awesome.
Yes, so everyone, thank you so much for people on board here. So we are live, we are recording, we're rocking and rolling on our Fall in Love with Fitness Summit with Ryan Omeasoo, and Kim is our live guest.
Hi, everyone.
So I'll do a quick little there's a little handout here, right? So I'll do a quick little intro, right? So Kim here is a holistic nutrition and wellness coach who helps people reclaim their energy, balance, and their hormones, and rediscover a sense of vitality no matter their age or stage of life. Her approach combines practical nutrition, mindset coaching, and lifestyle strategies that empower clients to create sustainable change. As a host of the What's My Age Again podcast, Kim opens up honest conversations about aging, self-care, and thriving with confidence. So here is Kim on how to reclaim energy when you're running on empty, and she also offers powerful steps to help you feel your best inside and out. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. Will people be joining through the chat or?
Yes. So basically, it's kind of like, I would say it's like an open house. So I'll keep my eyes on the chat as people come through with it. But of course, the recording and after the summit kind of thing. So the stage is yours. We'll look at the chats. I'll kind of wave my hand. I'll keep myself on mute so nothing bothers or interrupts you on your end. But the stage is yours, Kim.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you so much for the lovely introduction. And for having me today. And hello, everybody watching live. How is everyone feeling today? I mean, you can't tell me in the chat right now, but think about it on your head. In a scale of 1 to 10, how is your energy level? Are you reaching for your 3rd cup of coffee? Are you like, darn, during the break, I should have grabbed that cup of coffee? Or are you fully present, 10, feeling energized? Be honest with yourself. As Ryan mentioned in the intro, I'm a holistic nutritionist, and in my practice, usually starting right around September and lasting until well into the holiday season, clients complain a lot about energy, right? They say things like, I need a coffee to get through my day. I just feel sluggish, energy dips throughout the day, like maybe right around now is a common time, 11:30, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon's another big one. And maybe because September, we're coming off the summer, we've overscheduled, we're moving into Q4 in our business, so our business could be wrapping up. Days are getting shorter, weather's getting cold and rainy, and soon, like right after Halloween, we're probably going to be ramping up our social calendars during the holiday seasons. Some of us are caring for elderly parents. Some of us have young families. Not sure if any of you listening are young parents or parents. So there's a lot of environmental reasons why we could feel low energy. But today, I want to share a few simple foundational habits that can make a dramatic difference in your energy level that you can start right away. Because let's face it, sometimes we can't control our environment. Although, maybe we can control our overscheduling, which I am a victim of this September with my kids' schedules. But for the most part, there's so much that we can't control. But what we can control is those foundational habits that we can start today that's going to support our energy. So getting started. As Ryan mentioned, I am Kim Deereay. I'm a holistic nutritionist, culinary nutrition expert, and I do specialize in women's health, energy, hormones, gut health. But actually, this is my second career. For years, I worked in fashion marketing, in retail, doing special events and public relations. So I know what it's like to push through fatigue, especially this time of year. And in fact, I experienced my own burnout and health crisis. And not just because of my busy job, but because I also didn't take care of myself and didn't do those dietary and lifestyle habits to support myself. And so because of this, health crisis, and I brought myself back to health through diet and lifestyle, I formed a really deep belief that what we eat and how we live our life can change our health. And so I changed careers, and I believe that food is medicine and that diet and lifestyle here. So energy is foundational, but it's not a willpower issue. And what I mean by that is if you're experiencing low energy, it's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're unmotivated, and you can't just sort of fix it by powering and pushing through, right? In fact, that can actually lead to burnout. So, and it's hard, right? In a society where we hear so much about hustle culture and pushing. And I mean, there's a bit of a movement away from that now, which is really positive, but there's so many industries out there where it's like a badge of honor if we are tired and exhausting and going for that third cup of coffee, right? Because it's a sign that we worked really hard, and that's not true. Energy is our lifeline. And we talk about money and financial success, right? Well, energy is our body's currency. We can't give from an empty well. We can't spend from an empty bank account or an empty wallet, right? Our businesses, our relationships, our households are only as healthy as we are. And, if we don't have energy, if we feel depleted, we can't give to our families. We can't give to our businesses, right? So low energy is super common. I have so many clients that literally write in their intake forms, low energy, and something that they want to work on when we work together. And it's common, really common. You probably talk about it with friends and family too, like, oh, but it's not normal. And there are so many things that we can do to support our energy. But like I mentioned, it's not about trying harder. Most times it comes down to the foundations, how we fuel our body with nutrition, how we rest, sleep, our movement habits, and by regulating our nervous system. So today we're going to talk about those 4 pillars and then what we can do. Foundation number 1 is nutrition. And so I have a question for you, and you can answer yes in your head. How many of you skip meals? I was a victim of this. In my old world, I would power through, work through lunch, eating would be my last, right? Priority. And how many of you have lulls, energy lulls during the day? Like maybe right now, you're probably maybe going to get that second cup of coffee, or maybe at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you get those like cravings, sugar cravings, or a lull. So this is an energy issue, but also a blood sugar issue. And that first foundation for nutrition is supporting our blood sugar. Our bodies and our brains run on glucose. Glucose is essential fuel for our bodies and brains. And our bodies like to keep that blood glucose in a really tight range, right? When we eat meals like carbohydrates, we break down our meals into glucose, like carbohydrates into glucose. And so our blood sugar will increase. Our pancreas will then release insulin, which is the hormone that helps like push the glucose into the cells. And then that excess glucose in our blood will be pushed into liver, muscles, and store as fat. So if we eat this big sugary meal, if we have that Tim Hortons coffee and bagel for breakfast, we have this big surge of glucose hitting our bloodstream, this big spike. And then what goes up must come down, and we get this blood sugar dip, hence that next trip for a next coffee a few hours later. The other part of this roller coaster ride is when we don't listen to our body's hunger cues. Me in my old days when I would skip meals. This is when our blood sugar gets too low and we experience low energy, dizziness, even like the heart palpitations or anxiety, brain fog. You walk into the room and you're like, why am I here? And what happens here is our emergency system kicks in. Our body is so smart. And we want that blood sugar in that tight window again, right? So when we don't listen to our body and our blood sugar dips too low, our stress hormones are released. So that cortisol and that adrenaline is reached, which activates the fight or flight response. And our cells release glucose back into our bloodstream, and that blood sugar level goes back up. So you can sort of see here, I kind of gave you a little science lesson, but if we're constantly on this blood sugar roller coaster, we end up impacting our mood, our hormones, our sleep, belly fat, and our focus and our energy levels. And so how do we support? What do we do to stabilize and support our blood sugar? So instead of this roller coaster, what we want is more of this gentle, stable energy throughout the day. The first thing you can do, first tip, is look at your plate. Look at your plate. Look for a protein, a fat source, and a carbohydrate or fiber. You know, we described carbohydrates as this quick energy and that spike our blood sugar, right? Well, adding that fat to your plate is that stabilizer. It's going to sustain your energy throughout the day. I had an old teacher, his name was Josh Katalis, and he had a fantastic analogy. He talked about it as a campfire. So carbs are like the kindling on the fire, right? They're that quick energy that burns out quickly, right? Where fats are that slow burning log that, you know, that more sustained energy. You're also going to feel full longer. You're going to feel more satiated longer with fat and protein in your meals. And so that'll keep you stable, not this, right, throughout the day. And breakfast will set the tone for you. Breakfast will decide if you get on that roller coaster or not for the day. And so look at your breakfast. Where's your protein? Where's your fat source and your carbohydrate? So for example, you could have a smoothie. Super easy. Prepare it the night before if you like, if you have busy mornings, where you have your protein powder or your chia seeds, hemp hearts, those sort of things, your leafy greens. You know, you could have half an avocado in there for a fat source. I said hemp hearts, that's a great fat source, and some protein in there with berries, maybe nut milk or filtered water, and there you go. You could also have like an egg or tofu scramble with some sauteed leafy greens and that half avocado and some berries. Look at your plate and find the protein, the fat, and the carbohydrate, the fiber. Another big one is coffee after meals. Instead of before meals. So I'm not taking away the coffee. You may have heard this from other influencers online. If you're watching influencers that talk about health, they talk about coffee after, and it's true. It's so true, because what we talked about with cortisol, right? Coffee's that stressor. It raises cortisol. Cortisol increases that blood sugar, and then you're on that roller coaster, right? So instead of taking away your coffee, have that protein, fat, carb balanced meal for breakfast and save your coffee for after breakfast. And it's interesting how many clients that I've had that have said like have always been those people that have been like, I need coffee first. I need coffee to start the day. And then after they start having that balanced meal first, they realize they actually don't need their coffee. They have that sustained energy. And maybe they just have that coffee mid-morning for enjoyment because they enjoy it and it's part of a ritual for them. But it's not that they need it. And that's the key. That's the key to sort of see, if you're supporting that blood sugar. The next habit I would say to support that blood sugar is timing between meals. You know, if you're someone who put your hand up for the skipping meals, I have so many clients like this. I told you myself in my past life, they work through lunch, prioritize meetings, etc. Remember, we talked about that emergency system that gets activated, right? So if we continue on this roller coaster, we feel terrible. So we need to eat at regular intervals throughout the day. For example, if you eat your lunch, say at 12 o'clock, and then you don't have your dinner until 7, that's too long, right? That's too long. And perhaps you're getting sugar cravings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every day. If that's the case, first of all, think about what you ate for lunch. Like, was it a balanced meal? Could you have added some protein and fat there to keep your energy sustained? But also, maybe have a snack at 2:30, right? Have that balanced snack, maybe some almonds with an apple, or some hummus and veggie sticks, or roasted chickpeas, or something with that fat and that protein fiber mix. Have it at 2:30, and then see, maybe those cravings will disappear because you're keeping that blood sugar stable throughout the day, right? Cravings are from a lot of different things. We can dive deep into that thing, but if it is your blood sugar, you're going to notice that they disappear. Okay. And also, with nutrition, often we're not feeding ourselves enough calories, but also maybe not enough of those macro and micronutrients in your day. And for this, especially if you're training hard, not sure if some of you are training or athletes on here, in that case, your macro and micronutrients are very different during different times of your training. But are you getting enough? Right? And without adequate nutrients, your body will shift into this conservation mode, slowing your metabolic processes, prioritizing survival, and not giving you the energy you need for your day. And that poor nutrition, not getting enough of your macronutrients, which is protein, fats, and carbohydrates, but also our micronutrients, which is the vitamins and minerals that we get in our meals. And that we need for our immune system, for our hormones, for our energy, all the things, right? If we're not getting those, we're not getting the proper energy. And you can work with someone like me, a holistic nutritionist or a trainer, to figure out what you need for your body. But one tip I like to give people is to add variety to your meals. Variety is the key for a great gut microbiome, and also to get all those micronutrients in your meal. So take a look at the produce, for example. And actually, produce is a great example because all of our fruits and vegetables are different colors, right? And each of those colors actually represent different micronutrients. So, the orange has a lot of beta-carotene, reds, greens, different micronutrient complements. And so if you think about having variety and having the colors of the rainbow, you're likely going to get the micronutrients you need in your diet. That's a little tip. So as I said before, with every meal and snack, what's on your plate? Where's your protein? Where's your fat? Where's your carbohydrate? Focus on quality and not quantity. Look at timing of your meals, and stabilizing that blood sugar is one of the fastest ways to have more energy. All right, that was long. The next few are not. But foundation number 2, sleep. Sleep is so important. Poor sleep increases, we're talking about cortisol again. Poor sleep increases those cortisol levels and disrupts our circadian rhythm, which affects our adrenal system, contributes to fatigue, to brain fog. Also, during sleep, our brain actually clears the metabolic waste, and it helps us with our healing, right? Without enough deep sleep, this process can be impaired, and that can contribute to mental sluggishness, to low energy. Chronic sleep deprivation also, like less than 6 hours sleep a night, it impairs mitochondrial function. And our mitochondria are our powerhouses, our energy center of our cells. So this translates directly into low energy, right? So sleep is when the body is repairing and healing. And we want to make sure that we're getting good quality sleep because it supports cellular repair, hormone regulation, nervous system balancing, all of these essential things that are going to give us energy throughout the day. And how can we support our sleep? I think the number one thing that we can do, and it sounds easy, but it's not, is prioritize our sleep. A common complaint, and maybe you can relate sitting there, a common complaint for my clients, and a lot of them are women who are mothers as well, is like, I just want that me time at night. So like, I'll sit down and I'll watch my Netflix and I just need that time. And it's true, right? We're busy during work days. We have family obligations. And then, maybe our only time of day on our own is in the evenings. So I get it, but I promise you, prioritizing that bedtime and sticking to it consistently is going to give you more energy. Are you scrolling your phone? Are you watching Netflix? How can you prioritize your bedtime? And giving yourself more hours before 12 a.m., it's like double, because it's the beginning of our sleep cycles where we have more of that restorative sleep. We talked about, how restorative sleep supports healing. So giving yourself more hours of sleep before 12 a.m. is so important. The next thing that you can do to support sleep is create really great sleep habits. And, you may have heard of hot sleep hygiene. Mel Robbins actually says, I love it. She talks about tucking in your phone before you tuck in yourself at night. And I love this. And it's so true. So our phones, that blue light that we're getting, and actually any light, disrupts the melatonin. And melatonin is that hormone that's going to help us get to sleep and stay asleep. So we want to get rid of that blue light, an hour before bed. Okay. And have that time and stick to it. So if you want to be in bed by 9, get that phone out there at 8. And if that's like horrifying, maybe get to bed at 10, start there, and put the phone away at 9 into a different room so that you're not, tempted to take a look if you hear a ding or something like that. But that ritual is so important. The other thing, like I said, light affects our melatonin. So keeping your room dark, maybe with a sleep mask. Another one that I think is really important is having a bedtime routine. If you're parents out there, you probably have a bedtime routine for your kids, right? Or maybe if you don't, you as a child had a bedtime routine. You'd have your bath, maybe a little lavender oil in the bath. You'd, come out, read your stories. Maybe your parents would sing you like a lullaby, and then your body would know it's time for bed. Well, as adults, we need this too. So many of us are like, go, 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 finish doing work at night and then, or like watch that crime series and then expect to go to sleep. Well, our body isn't set up then to go to sleep. So another part of that sleep hygiene is creating a really great evening routine that's going to help your body fall asleep. And that could be different for all of you, but I challenge you after this to think about that. You're going to tuck in your phone. And then what do you want to do? Do you have like a skincare routine that you love? Do you want to take a bath with some lavender essential oils or Epsom salts? Do you want to do a yoga nidra? Or my favorite is put your feet up the wall and read a book. What is it that works for you that helps your body wind down, and be consistent with that? So that's sleep. We're going to prioritize our sleep. Next foundation is movement. Movement creates energy. It improves how our body uses glucose, which we talked about. We're using that glucose. It oxygenates your tissues. It boosts your mitochondria, your energy power plants of your cells, right? And without movement, this energy production declines and low energy, right? Movement is also hard, right? Because it's one of those things, often if we have no energy or if we feel depleted, we're not going to want to get to the gym, right? And I'm sure Ryan can attest to this because, think about this. Have you ever said after you go to the gym, darn it, I shouldn't have done that. What a waste of time. Never. I'm sure Ryan has never heard it from one of his clients, because you feel great after the gym. You feel great after movement. Your energy is boosted, right? After a workout. And if you're sitting there saying to me, no, Kim, like I feel really depleted. Well, that could be a different story. Maybe you want to look into adrenal support, because you should feel energy. You're probably going to feel sore. You're probably going to feel tired after a great workout, which is great. But if you feel depleted for hours, you want to look into that adrenal health. And maybe you want to look at maybe practices that are really supportive to your adrenals, like going for walks or doing a little bit of restorative practices. But for the rest of us, having that movement routine consistently is so important. And you can work with a trainer like Ryan to figure out what it is that will work for your body. And if you're just starting out, what my recommendation is to carve out that time and be consistent with it. Even if it starts at 10, 20 minutes, Carve it out, start there, and then stay consistent with it and move forward. So movement, key to energy. Last one, foundation. And this is the big one. I like to think sort of health, hormones, energy as a pyramid, right? We've got our, for example, if we're talking about hormones, we've got our estrogen and progesterone balance. And then we get into the middle where we work on things like gut health. We work on what we were talking about, blood sugar support, liver support, all the things. But the base, and I challenge you to think of any sort of health, when it comes to energy, hormones, anything really, the base, the foundation of our health is our nervous system, right? It is, we could be doing all the things. And if you're sitting there thinking, Kim, I've got my diet down. Yes, I move my body every day. I go to the gym and I get my sleep. I get enough sleep. I challenge you to look deeper at your nervous system. Chronic stress triggers prolonged cortisol release. There's that cortisol again. We're talking about that fight or flight response. And so many of us live in the fight or flight for a long time, which over time leads to that adrenal fatigue, that chronic low energy. And we don't want to be living in this. So the idea is we want to take ourselves out of that fight or flight to the parasympathetic, that rest and digest system where we actually do most of our healing. And so elevated cortisol disrupts sleep cycles. They go hand in hand, sleep and stress, right? Chronic stress is sneaky. It can keep us in that fight or flight mode, constantly pumping out cortisol and then draining our energy reserves. And supporting this, we can't get rid of the stresses, right, necessarily. But what we can do is make ourselves more resilient to what's happening in our lives and stressors, right? And so simple daily things to help bring ourselves from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic is what can really help us. And it's so funny because this tends to be the hardest one for my clients because they're so simple. I did it before this meeting. Put my feet up, took some deep breaths so that I could replenish my energy to give it all to you at this meeting. So things like deep breaths, box breathing, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, can really support just bringing back to your breath. If you're like going from this meeting to another, take some deep breaths before. Humming, singing, releasing energy through dance, activity that can also support your nervous system. If you are in anxiety moment, sometimes cold water on the face, ice water, ice bath can support your nervous system. Feet up the wall, my favorite. A short meditation, a yoga nidra. Insight Timer has some great options for meditations and it's a free app. Breath work has been really amazing for me this year. And then there's like body work, like an acupuncture massage that can support your nervous system. So these things, these little things, tell your body that you're safe and move that energy move your body from that go, go, go sympathetic system to the parasympathetic system. And if you're somebody, it's funny, a mentor of mine, she was a type A personality and she would literally put it in her calendar, like so that it would show up and she would be like, all right, remember to breathe. And so if that's what it takes at the beginning, you should try that because this is doing this throughout your day consistently will really support your nervous system and your energy. So I'm looking at the clock right now. I'm not sure if anybody's on here with any questions, but I will tell you one of the big questions I do get is like, if say I am a person who does all these things, tick, 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 I'm doing all the things, Kim, and my energy is still depleted, then I would say it's time to talk to your practitioner because it could be something like thyroid. It could be low vitamin B12. It could be low vitamin D. It could be iron. There could be many different reasons. But the point is that we start here with the foundations. And so I hope this helps.
Beautiful. That was Kim. Wow. I was you're like nailing all of it. That's what I'm talking. That's why I'm so happy to hear you wonderful coaches and just to share your knowledge. And it's just so it's empowering and to like, okay, wow, the cortisol, the blood sugar, the good old trip to the coffee and to relax, the box breathing, the making sure you're eating healthy, to sleep on time, to put away that phone at a certain time, the blue light, right? So it's there's um, all these little tips or obstacles, but they're small that you can change. You can change them today. You can change them right now. I can, with the eating and making sure that the coffee stays a little bit more on the minimal side, right? And the box breathing for sure, the breathing, the deep breathing. I know it's myself, like I'm always so like go 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 go. I'm always just so excited and energetic. And it was funny when I was talking to hopefully another speaker in the future, but we did a hair sample thing, and I was telling her what I was eating and blood work or getting my I forgot what it was, but it was like when she got back the results, like she's on paper, she's like, oh wow, okay, Ryan, so everything's all good, but not knowing, like I know who you are and how you operate, so you are very energetic. So when I saw your results, I'm like, oh wow, he's really high on, I forgot what it was, but he was really high on this, but you're just so that's just how you are. You're just very energetic. So like, okay, cool, that's nothing to be worried about. But it's just having the information and knowledge from a professional to highlight, like, hey, look, take a look at this. You may not realize, but let's take a peek. Like if you are working out and you may have something that is hindering your performance, let's take a look at blood work. Let's take a look at the hair sample. Let's take a look at what you're eating throughout the day, your habits, your daily rituals, making sure that the type A personality, 12 o'clock, oh, I better do my box breathing and have that alarm notification, right? But it's from having, coaches that work with clients hand on for years, or some clients or some coaches might be just recently. But the one thing I heard this morning was standing on the shoulders of giants. So standing on the shoulders of our previous coaches or mentors who were very highly successful in their field, and then using or adopting their value system and their knowledge so you can become better. So that's, I was talking with another client, or sorry, not a client, but she was saying, like, I want to give back to, my previous self who's coming into the fitness or to the financial industry, and I didn't have mentors at the end. So now I want to make sure I pay it forward. Right. So, just having, your knowledge, Kim, and just sharing what you've said right here with the foundations is amazing. Thank you so much for that. And, yeah, no, for sure. And hopefully I copied and pasted your.
Oh, yep, that's me.
Right. So we got we got your email. Hit up that email, right? So we got the Instagram, we got the nutrition sign up for a weekly newsletter. Definitely hit that up. And you know what? My bad on this one, but your podcast, I didn't see it until I clicked something else, then I found it because you didn't say anything to me about it. Like, oh shoot!
I didn't. You know what? It's a new platform for me because it's actually something I'm working on, using my voice more and sharing my knowledge, and it just is something that I'm really passionate about and love doing. So, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. No, that's another thing too. Like, I was talking to another person, like, well, I'm not an expert in this. I'm like, well, no, like you want to share. People need to hear if you're passionate about something. Go for it. Like you're saying, you're unsure about your voice and all that, but you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
That's what the world needs. The world needs people like you, Kim, and to share your light and your story. So there's the podcast. Hit that up, and yeah, for sure. So thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, for sure. One of many more to come. So I love hearing your guys' insight and also talking with you guys. But I will also email the attendee list, like a broadcast email with all the speakers, coaches, contact information with that one email. So I'll add you to that list so that you do get it as well too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Oh, and for everybody, should we talk about the gift, the freebie?
Yes.
All right. So for everybody, I am offering a 20-minute consultation just to kind of point people in the right direction. So they can come with me to talk about sort of a health challenge and I can kind of guide them and point them in the right direction. And if they book that appointment, they get a 3-day energy reset meal plan to help them sort of get started.
Tucking that down. Beautiful, nice. So 20-minute consult, and I'll booking through here The 3-day energy reset meal plan. Is that what you said?
Yes. Do you want me to put a link? I didn't
Yes,
think of that.
please.
Okay.
I'll copy
Do I have
this.
time? Woo!
Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. This is live, right? Okay, here we go. How about there we go. That should be
Yay,
it.
there we go. There it is.
There we go. Yes, so they can click that link, book, and then when they book, they'll get their 3-day energy reset meal plan.
Beautiful. Now, and also just in case, because it might, if you're going to be putting this on your social media stuff, or someone somehow comes across this webinar series and they click that link in 2033.
Oh dear,
yeah. You'd be like, "Where's the link? It's not working." So I have a time frame.
Yeah. Okay, for the next month only.
Yes.
For the month of October, click the link. And yes, we can have a conversation or just reach out to me.
Exactly. Beautiful.
All right. Thank you again so much. Good luck with the rest of today. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kim.
Bye.
All right. Beautiful stuff, everyone. So Kim, there you go. So we have the links on the side here, her social media and also her podcast. Definitely click the links, save this one. All right, we have dun. Still check the time slot here. All right, so we have a Forged Youth podcast on the next speaker up to bat at 12:30 Pacific time. So we have a little time here. Let's take a little breather. Let's take a little break. Let's do some box breathing. Let's go for a little walk if you can for the next, under 10, 15 minutes. But let's get rid of the handout here. But have yourself a little break. Click the links, book in, get yourself that 20-minute chat with Kim, and tell us to make sure you get that 3-day the meal plan. That sounds amazing. Get rid of the handout and the chat.